welcome back to the Horse Racing Network with me, Izzy Phillips, and I'm joined as always by racing broadcaster and journalist Paul Alster, and we will be taking a look ahead to British Champions Day this Saturday at Ascot. Paul, this meeting has very quickly become one of the staples of the flat season. There's obviously £4.35 million in prize money up for grabs, and it's become huge. It only started in 2011.
Yeah, it's become a big success, and you have to credit Quipco on this occasion with their sponsorship. It's been a flagship meeting for Ascot, and of course it brings the curtain down on the main part of the season, because although we will be racing on at Doncaster with the Group 1 race for the 2-year-olds, and we'll be back there, of course, ending with the November handicap, this really is the big finale of the season. And this year, because we're on much better ground than usual, it's normally run on soft ground, a lot of the horses we've been seeing throughout the year are still being kept on the go. So this is why we have the potential for some particularly hot matches between horses who've been taking each other on throughout the season. So I think we have some very, very good and exciting racing ahead on Saturday.
Absolutely. And as you said, it's the culmination of the season. So we'll also be seeing on Saturday the crowning of Oisin Murphy as the top jockey, because it looks like he has run away with that market. And even though the betting has Aidan O'Brien as having already won the Trainers' Championship, with the runners that he's got, we were looking, and Gosden could make a sort of late sweep to potentially close that gap. But obviously that relies on the fact that Aidan O'Brien wins no further prize money as well, which is unlikely, I would say, considering the runners he's got entered. But it will be a beautiful day's racing. As you said, we are looking quite lucky with the weather. There's not much rain around in the forecast at all. A little bit of dampness on some days, but no real heavy showers forecast. And actually, if you're going racing on Saturday, it looks like you'll get some sunshine as well, which I'm pleased about because I'm going. So I'm really looking forward to that. But we're going to kick things off with the Sprint Stakes, which is at 2:05. And we've got Lazat at the top of the market, obviously that sort of disappointing favourite last time. You've got Big Mojo in here. You've also got the likes of Montasib. If you like Wathnan horses, you're in luck because you've also got Kind of Blue and Flora of Bermuda, Rayevka and good old Inisherin and Art Power in there as well. And generally bigger the rest at around 25 to 1 and more. At the time of recording, we don't have final declarations, Paul, but is there anyone taking your interest here?
Oh, quite a few of them. I mean, this is a cracking race to finish off the big Group 1 sprints of the season in Europe. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, quite a few of these horses have been taking each other on throughout the season. We saw that at Ascot in June. We had a victory for Lazat in what was the old Golden Jubilee Stakes, where he beat was it the Japanese horse Satono Rev? This is a horse with a lot of ability, but he did run a little bit below expectations at Haydock in the Sprint Cup, which was won by Big Mojo, who, of course, is going to be more than likely taking him on again. As you said, we don't have the final declarations, but they're intended, I think, runners, unless there's any mishaps. And Montasib is another horse who, on his day, is more than capable. He's been very, very lightly raced with only one run this season. It was a very good effort over just 5 furlongs, is he? So he's coming back to his proper trip, having had that pipe opener in a Group 3 at Newbury 4 weeks ago. And I wouldn't put it past him to go close, because he won last year the Haydock Sprint Cup, where he beat Kind of Blue, before finishing 5th to that horse on soft ground in this race last year. But of course, it's going to be good ground, which is going to suit Montasib. Amongst the others, the filly Flora of Bermuda, another one for Wathnan, has a chance. The French Rayevka is a very useful sort, and Inisherin is no mug either. But I'm going to stick with the horse that I put up at the very start of the season, because although he's taken time to reach peak form, I think Kind of Blue is going to go there with a massive chance of repeating his victory in the race 12 months ago when he beat Swing Along and he beat Montasib and others. And after a couple of unfortunate early runs, things went badly wrong for him in France when he reared up, and then there was another poor run on the all-weather. He was third at the Curragh in a decent event in August, and then he was a good second to Big Mojo. He's coming to hand, so he was second in the Haydock Sprint Cup again. And I just think he's got a lot going for him. If there was any rain at all, it will only help him. But as I like to bet each way, 8 to 1 he is currently each way, and I think Kind of Blue will go very well. And I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in superstitious things, but I'm staying with some friends just at the moment up in Yorkshire, and on the table, the coffee table, when I came to sit down to do this broadcast, was this book about the life of Miles Davis, and it's called Kind of Blue. So, I
Oh
mean, if
my
that isn't
gosh.
if that isn't a tip, I don't know what is. So anyway, Kind of Blue was my selection. He was the horse that I put up at the start of the season, and he's had a lovely 6-week break since Haydock. I think he's going to run massive at a course that suits.
I actually fully agree with you with regards to Monteseb. I was a little bit concerned about the form of haggis runners across Arc weekend, because I backed a couple of them and they didn't really kind of run maybe as well as they have done the rest of the season. And that's really saying something when it comes to William Haggis, because it's expecting a lot. He basically hasn't been out of form this entire flat season, and I don't know how he's doing it. I mean, obviously he's just an absolute magician, but the one I really like is Monteseb. I fully agree with you. Obviously, very lightly campaigned. William Haggis is back up at a 20% strike rate currently. He's back in the winner's enclosure again. So obviously that little spell of just a little dip in form did not last long. I agree with you on the ground. I think he'll be well suited by the fact that the ground looks like it will be good. And that run at Newbury, in that group three, if you watch it back, he was very, very slowly away, basically fell out of the stalls. And when you see how he's closing on the field over 5 furlongs, like you say, this time now back over 6, I just think it's ideal. And I think at the price, Monteseb is a really, really good bet. So that's where you'll see my money going. Unfortunately, I can't be backing Lazat at 4 to 1. I could be completely wrong, but I just don't think that he's good enough. The trainer isn't having a massive amount of winners either. But my heart, I do like Big Mojo. I think there's just a kind of link there with Big Evs, obviously. But I think Monteseb for me.
Yeah, I think wherever Montesib finishes, Kind of Blue is going to be right there, and I think both of them go there with big chances. And for those people watching us that like to have an each-way bet, they've got a couple to pick from there as potential each-way investments in this particular race.
And then we move on to the 325, which is the QE2, the Queen Elizabeth II Stakes. It's run over a mile, and there are some fantastic names lining up here. The winner of this one gets a cool 655 grand. Wow. So we start off the field with Field of Gold. Rosalian is back out here. Fallen Angel in the field. We've also got Never So Brave. Docklands, who's obviously caused an upset this season. The Lion in Winter, currently still holding an entry. Delacroix has an entry here, but I think we kind of know that Delacroix is likely to go into a race that we're going to talk about later. And kind of bigger the rest really there from there. But were you feeling Field of Gold will come back, or gonna stick with Rosalian and hope for a final good luck story after the 3 hard luck stories that we've already had? My heart is drawn to Fallen Angel. I can't pass her by. I'll be definitely having a little saver on her at 10 to, well, she's currently around 10 to 1, but what do you think?
Well, I think this could be an absolute barnstormer of a race. There are so many different threads, aren't they? I mean, let's start actually first with Rosalian, because if ever a horse deserves to win a big race, it is this one. He's just, since he won at Ascot, the St James's Palace, wasn't it, last year? I mean, he's gone so close time and again. And again, he was short-headed in the Group 1 at Longchamp in early September in the Prix de Moulins. And he's going to be bang there again, and I don't think anybody would begrudge him a big success. But you just wonder whether he's going to be one of those nearly horses.
Mm.
As for the favourite, well, we all loved Field of Gold earlier in the season. What was not to love about him? He was terrific, wasn't he? And an unlucky loser in the 2000 guineas, and then he absolutely bolted in at the Curragh in the Irish equivalent. He took them apart on the round mile in the St James's Palace, and then was it the track at Goodwood? Very often they just don't handle it, and he was disappointing. He's been given plenty of time, over 11 weeks, to get over that. He's the clear pick on official figures, and he may very well go and win, but he's going to probably, by the time the final declarations come through and a few drop out, we could see him being around 11.08, 5-4. I'm not sure I'd want to play Field of Gold at those odds. You've mentioned Fallen Angel, Izzy, and she's done everything right this summer. Those 3 Group 1 wins, superb, but they were all against the fairer sex. She's going to have to take on the Colts here. I think that's going to be a tough task. I don't think she'll be at all far away. And we've got Never So Brave, who's on a 4-timer, having made his way through good handicap company to win a Group 1 last time out at York over 7 furlongs. Whether he's going to be Group 1 at the mile remains to be seen, but he is improving fast, and he's got Oisin Murphy on board for Andrew Balding. I think that at the odds, Docklands is very, very interesting because we know this is a horse who loves the track. He's won at, I think, is it 2 Royal Meetings? He certainly won a big race there last year, and of course he produced that big shock when he beat Rosalian over the course and distance in the Queen Anne. He wouldn't have been particularly suited by Goodwood, and he didn't run at all badly when it was much too soft for him at Deauville last time behind Diego Velasquez, and he still was only just beaten a length and a tail. So back at a track that he absolutely loves. He loves that stiff uphill finish off a fast gallop, and the drier the ground, the better for him. I just think 14-1 each way, Docklands could, prove to be value. I think I'd prefer to back Docklands to finish in the first 3 than back Field of Gold at 5-4 to win. So that's the way I would kind of sum up this race.
Yeah, there's just something for me as well. Like, I know that obviously horses, we have to allow them a bad run. They're not machines. And
No.
we know that, Coston was quite open about the performance of Field of Gold last time. But I agree with you. I just wouldn't want to go lumping in at, very short odds on Field of Gold, especially when you've got the talent that you have in this field. And we've seen, some quite surprising results this season. So my feeling on it is, and this is probably more of a sentimental approach from me, but I absolutely cannot have Rosalian going past the post first and me not be on after the disappointment of this season. It's like one of those sod's law things that I absolutely refuse to have happen to me. So I will be backing Rosalian, and I will have a little saver on Fallen Angel and hope that she can do herself proud, like you say, in against the boys, because she has got to step up. She has. I think she's had an easier time of it than she will certainly appear to get in this race. So yeah, that's the way I'll play it. But I think both of us kind of skirting around the fact that Field of Gold is in this and could clearly romp home if he's back to anything like what his best at what we'd seen. Obviously, he'd been so unbelievably impressive. So it's either going to be, I think, one of those stories where we go, yeah, he was probably too short, or we're all going, wow, he's a monster. Here we go. It's been
Yeah.
a real kind of pageant performance, really. I think it'll be one of the or the other. And obviously if it's not Field of Gold, then I hope it's Rosalian.
Well, as I said earlier, I don't think anybody that follows racing that likes a horse that, really gets stuck in, um, would be sorry to see Rosalian win. He's just been unlucky, I think. I don't blame the jockeys, all this kind of stuff. People are always wagging their finger when a horse keeps get beaten a head or a nose or whatever. I just think the cards just haven't quite fallen right for him. But it wouldn't be surprised if it's another similar tale for him again. And I think
Oh
what you
God.
say about yeah, I think what you say about Field of Gold is right. He could win 5 lengths, and we say, well, obviously it was a blip at Goodwood. The horse is fantastic, and he looked a monster in his previous runs. I do think Docklands represents value at a track where he seems to always run £7 better than anywhere else.
Well, after that race, we end up on what is probably the most prestige race of the day, and that is the Champion Stakes itself, 800,000 to the winner. And we've got a really, really good field here. It's 1 mile to top of the market. We have got Ombudsman it looks as if going against him again here is going to be Delacroix. Obviously does still have an entry in the other races we've just mentioned, but this looks the most likely target. And we've also got here the French Raider with Calandagan. You've got Almaquam, and you've got the likes of Economics in here, who we haven't seen now for some time. That's 360. Well, but by the time he actually runs, if he's still entered at declaration stage, it'll be about 370 days since we've seen him. Almeric has got an entry here, another Wafnam with First Look, Fox Legacy. You've got the Dante winner, Pride of Arras, in here as well, and a couple of other Aidan O'Brien runners with the likes of Los Angeles. The Lion in Winter's also got that double entry, Swagman and Mount Kilimanjaro. And then in here as well at 151, it's important to note, I will make sure we say this, is that you have got Devil's Advocate, who has been entered and is the allocated pacemaker for Ombudsman, because I'd been tracking this market pool and I'd noticed that there was no pacemaker in here. So that seems like they've resolved that. If there's a pacemaker in the race, is it just Ombudsman's home and hosed, or do you think Delacroix or the likes of, Calandagan can come and land a blow?
I keep changing my mind on this race. Originally, I was with Delacroix.
Me too.
Because he did it really nicely in Ireland last time out. He showed a really, good attitude, and he won it well. But you can't forget the way Ombudsman put him away at York in the International. You see, I mean, when he beat Ombudsman the time before in the Eclipse, there was a view that even though he didn't get the best of runs and had to pull out wide, that Ombudsman kind of got mugged that day and may not have been quite at his best. But so originally I was with Delacroix, but despite all that, and then of course Calandagan on his day is a knockout of a horse. He cruises up and he's got real class. The thing about him, remember him last year where he looked like he was going to win, he got worried out of it by Unmart. That was on soft ground over 1.25 miles, where his stamina very nearly saw him through. I just wonder if on this better ground over 10 furlongs, he might just lack a touch of pace against two such quality horses as Delacroix and Ombudsman. So any rain would be a big plus for Calandagan, but as you mentioned earlier, it's not forecast. Now, when you look at other horses in the race, Economics is the one that, of course, catches the eye because, of course, he was brilliant last season in the Irish Champions Stakes. I was at York when he won his Dante, which was pretty breathtaking for a big gangly baby of a horse at the time. But he's had issues, and to come back and win after 364 days would be pretty sensational. He was beaten in this race last year, only 6 when he was a 2-1 shot, but that was on soft ground. He's got his ground, which is why I think William Haggas might risk him, might let him go, even though I'm sure he'd say that however much work he's done, he's not going to be match fit, for the big title fight, so to speak. Almakam, an improving 4-year-old, but I don't see him being good enough. Almeric, similar story. Pride of Arras only seems to really do it at York. And Los Angeles had a hard race in the Arc, and I'd be surprised if he shows up, or if he does, if he runs well. So basically what I'm working around to is that although I'm not normally a favourite backer, I do think that Ombudsman is going to be hard to beat if he is still on his A game. He's been on the go since the spring. He has been beaten in 2 of 4 races. He wasn't fully wound up at Sandown first time out. Then he murdered Anmart in the Prince of Wales. Then he got mugged by Delacroix in the Eclipse. And then that performance, do you remember where the other Godolphin horse went 20 lengths clear or whatever, turning
Is
into the
that
straight in the
Bird Castle?
International? That's
Was
the
it
one.
Burr? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
right. And you wondered 2.5 furlongs out, is this going to be another shock? But Ombudsman reeled him in and then just stormed away. If he's in that kind of form again, I think he's going to be hard to beat. Now, I've just been looking at the prices. Most of the firms 7-4, 15-8. I think there's one firm at the time we're recording this piece that's showing 2-1. But I think he's probably going to be a 7-4 shot. And I expect that Ombudsman might just get the better in their third battle of the season with Delacroix.
Yeah, I think I was the same as you. I was with Delacroix, especially in the very early entries of this, and I really quite liked the way he kind of pulled away at the Curragh. But I just feel that now I know that the pacemaker is in there for Ombudsman, and I know that that was what was cited as the mugging before, because they felt that Delacroix could basically get there because there wasn't a strong enough pace set and all these. When, like you say, when they did have the pacemaker in there, when they did have Burr Castle in the race, who is no mug of a horse in himself, the way that Ombudsman picked up and just went away was just, it was just amazing, to be honest with you. And
Yes.
if he's got that pacemaker in there again, which he has, and everything goes to plan, there is really no reason why Ombudsman isn't going to go and win this. I think it's basically going to have to go wrong for them for this not to come off. So I think he's probably, for me, where I will end up going with my bet. But yeah, I have followed Delacroix this season, but I'm sort of mindful not to follow him off a cliff here, because that did go wrong last time these two faced off with a pacemaker, and that's the deal breaker for me.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think the most important thing about this race is that both you and I, and I'm sure most people tuning in to join us on YouTube at this channel, we're racing fans. And above all, whatever we've bet, I think most of us really want to see a great race, hoping that our selection is going to come out on top, of course. But to see a race that you're going to remember and talk about for years to come. And this race, with those big three at the top of the market and economics thrown in as a bit of a joker in case he could do something special, it has the potential to be a race that could be truly memorable. Let's hope it is.
I agree. I'd really like to see Economics run a good race. Like you say, even if he doesn't get the win, he's not match fit, just be nice to see Economics come out and run a good, solid race, because he's a very, very popular horse. Obviously,
Yeah,
he only lost in this race last year, and it was so disappointing, and everyone was so upset. And then obviously it come out that there was other issues at play.
yeah.
So certainly, as a racing fan, we'd just like to see Economics come out and run a good old race. But as a racing fan, and on the podcast, you may have followed that earlier in the season, me and Paul did put up horses to follow. And I mentioned her only a couple of weeks ago, because obviously she ran in the Arc, and that's Calpana. So I've got to do a little honourable mention here at the end of the podcast, just to flag that she's running again against Estrange, who we've also mentioned on the podcast as being one of the most beautiful horses. But I do believe Calpana is a better horse. Obviously, she's back against her own sex again here. I think she's fantastic. Won this race last year, and yeah, she's the one for me. I think that as long as the Arc hasn't taken too much out of her, I'd like to see her come here and kind of dominate. So there's one little extra one for me bolted on at the end, because I couldn't not mention her. But that is all we have time for in our preview of British Champions Day. Obviously, we wish you the best of luck, and we will be back again to do a preview for the first Cheltenham of the season. We're getting into National Hunt now, so we'll see you again soon.